Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. You know something the U.S. government is not telling you? The CNN and New York Times are not telling you that your tax dollars are going into feeding fascist battalions. The Azov battalion, a Nazi battalion that uses the symbols of Nazi Germany, is an official part of the Ukrainian military. And though they are influencing our youth in this country, we just came back from Buffalo, New York, where a white supremacist killed 10 black people in the supermarket there. Guess where he got his ideas? From New Zealand, where a person who was affiliated with the Azov battalion in Ukraine decided that he wanted to kill 51 Muslim people. And 17,000 white supremacists have gone through Ukraine to get training, military training, come back to the United States and use it against the people, especially people of color. That's why we have this shirt on here that says, "I can't breathe," because not only are we getting killed by racist cops, we're getting killed by white supremacists that are supported by the U.S. government and the government in Ukraine. So we say, this war for democracy is hypocrisy. This war for democracy is an 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 hypocrisy. And the war merchants will come out here with their smiles on their faces because they like white supremacy too. They like feeding all these weapons and high-tech weaponry to the Azov battalion and the right sector and other Nazi battalions over in Ukraine. They're not telling you that that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. They're supporting white supremacy, and there's all for profits of oil and for U.S. imperialism to go and threaten China and Russia and provoke a World War III. But we don't need a World War III. Biden, can't you see? We don't want a World War III. Biden, can't you see? We don't want a World War III. Biden, can't you see? We don't want a World War III. Biden, can't you see? We don't want a World War III.
My name's Dan. I'm with the Dallas Anti-War Committee. I'm here to ask for peace in the Ukraine and to protest against U.S. weapons manufacturers who have been meeting today with the Ukrainian government officials to sell them more weapons. The situation in the Ukraine is a disaster. Tens of thousands of people on both sides have been killed. Millions have become refugees. The Ukrainian infrastructure has been terribly damaged. And the way out of this war is not more war. The way out of this war is peace. What Ukrainian people and Russian people both need is peace. What American arms manufacturers need, however, is something different entirely. They need more war. For them, this is a good time. For them, this is a great success because they're selling more and more weapons and making more and more money. And I'm protesting against the role that U.S. weapons manufacturers play in exacerbating a terrible conflict which needs to end, and which needs to end through negotiation rather than either side pursuing it to a military victory at the cost of God knows how many more lives. Thank you.
We all know the Ukrainian military has large far-right segments. Even the mainstream American news, CNN, Fox News, NBC, admit that there are Nazis in the Ukrainian military. The United States military has already supported far-right militias. They were called the Mujahideen, and they became the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. We should have learned our lesson 30, 40 years ago. Instead, we are spending billions and billions of your tax dollars on murdering children in the Donbass region. So a few executives in that building can get fucking rich.
Okay. My name is Cassandra. I'm a member of the Dallas Anti-War Committee. I'm here to protest against weapon manufacturers' role in the continued bloody conflict of the Ukraine and against Russia. The United States should not be pushing Ukraine to continue to fight more and more with Russia at the expense of the Ukrainian people. And they should promote instead there should be a promoted settlement instead of pushing them to continue the war, to attempt to embarrass a rival, a geopolitical rival, and gain more money for the weapons manufacturers.
My name is Sharon Black, and I want to talk about why there's a whole delegation of people from Baltimore City, why we came to this convention center literally on September 21st, and why we've traveled so far to be here. Number one, people should know who's meeting inside this convention center are all the major war profiteers. Literally, they're literally making money off the suffering of people, especially people not only in Ukraine and Donbass and Russia, it's in China too. It's also about people right here in the United States, and particularly Baltimore. Right now in Baltimore, we had a crisis where there was E. coli in the water, and it's not just negligence on the part of the city administration. It's really because the infrastructure in a lot of U.S. cities, especially black and poor brown cities, majority cities like Jackson, certainly like Baltimore City and Flint, Michigan, we're being neglected, and there's no money for the infrastructure. But there's $70 billion that the Biden administration has already pumped into, literally forcing, continuing this U.S.-NATO proxy war. And the last thing I really wanted to say before really ending is that we came here via Buffalo, New York. We came from Baltimore, we traveled to Buffalo, New York, and we were able to see firsthand the memorial of the 10 people who were murdered at the Tops supermarket. And people need to know who the U.S. government, who the U.S. Pentagon, who these war profiteer companies are propping up. It's really Nazis, real genuine Nazis that are at the front lines, the Azov Brigade. They are responsible for training the very same person who killed people at the Tops supermarket. So white supremacy, neo-Nazi fascism, all is very linked to Ukraine because they've trained Nazis from around the world to function in countries like the U.S. where they engage in massacres. And that's important, that there is a linkage between white supremacists here and the white supremacists, the Nazi movement rather, in Ukraine, that's responsible for massacring innocent Donbass civilians. So we're going to be protesting. We know at this time many people want to swallow some of the lies that are being told. As John Parker said, he went to Donbass, he went to the Ukraine, he witnessed what the truth was about this war. And so we're standing up for the truth, basically. And most of all, standing up for working class people right here at home and abroad.
We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for jobs, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. Need money for jobs, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for jobs, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for jobs, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for housing, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for housing, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. Need money for housing, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. Need money for housing, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for gas, not for war. We're fired up, I can't take it no more. We need money for gas, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for jobs, not for war. We're fired up, can't take it no more. We need money for jobs, not for war. Hey, hey, ho, ho. The war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. The war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. The war profiteers have got to go.
All right, hi, my name is Alex Summerfield. I'm a organizer and attorney from Baltimore, Maryland with Struggle La Lucha and Socialist Unity Party. We're out here today in Austin outside the convention center because the U.S. defense industry and war profiteers who love and try to profit off blood all over the world are meeting just across the street at the convention center. And the guest of honor via Zoom is Ukrainian President and NATO puppet Volodymyr Zelensky. They will also have other, I think like the Ukrainian foreign minister might be here. A lot of Ukrainian government officials who are here seeking weapons and support from their friends in the capitalist US to spread imperialism and to fight Russia and ultimately China. Just want to speak quickly. This whole war is it's throwing the Ukrainian people into a war to make profits for the Western and specifically the US defense companies. That's all it is. And the Ukrainian fascist movement has gone all in with NATO on this. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, there can't be fascists in Ukraine. There can't be fascism or neo-Nazism in Ukraine. They have a Jewish president. Well, the U.S. had President Barack Obama, and the U.S. is still the capital of racism and the largest purveyor of racist violence across the globe. So yeah, Ukraine has a Jewish president, but who pulls the strings of that president? NATO, neo-Nazis, people like Dmytro Yarsho and people like Petro Poroshenko still wield a tremendous amount of power. Anti-Semitism, racism are at the depth of Ukrainian society right now because the fascist movement is so mobilized in the streets and militarily. The most hardened Ukrainian troops are people in the Azov Battalion, Tornado Battalion, 8R Battalion who've been fighting and trying to enact genocide against the people of Donbass and Russia for the past 10 years. So, and on a personal note, as a Jew, do not fall for these lies. Volodymyr Zelensky is not an ally of the Jewish people. He's not an ally of the Ukrainian people. He's only an ally of the U.S. war profiteers who are leading this campaign of blood money. That's all he is. That's all the Ukrainian government is, and we have to resist it at every turn.
My name is John Parker with the Socialist Unity Party, and I was an eyewitness in both Iraq and Ukraine. I looked into the eyes of a child in Iraq dying a painful death from leukemia due to the use of depleted uranium by the United States during the Iraq War. That war was built on the same unverified lies corporate media is peddling now. I've looked into the eyes of an 82-year-old woman who lost everything and living in a shelter in Rubizny, Ukraine, after her apartment was bombed by a Ukrainian tank loaded with US weapons. I talked to a child in Krymskaya region of Ukraine who was woken by weapons in 2015 supplied by the US that exploded in his home. That was part of the 8-year war against the people of Donbass and the genocide provoking a Russian intervention in February after the Ukrainian bombing of that region increased 20-fold in 1 week. Now, who's verifying these latest atrocities supposedly by Russia? Reuters admitted that the only source was the police. Well, do you know who the police are in Ukraine? The security forces are made up in Ukraine of neo-Nazi organizations, a fact corporate media is not allowing you to hear. And the news outlets and journalists who tried to report these facts were either arrested or killed in Ukraine, and the media they worked for was shut down. In fact, all of Zelensky's opposition has been criminalized. The socialist and communist parties that were in government are no longer allowed to exist, and their members have been hunted down, killed, or burned alive. When I was in Ukraine last May, I met with some of those who were in parliament in Ukraine who had to escape to the Donbass region of Ukraine, simply because they were socialists.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I'm an organizer and writer for Struggle La Lucha and Socialist Unity Party from Denver, Colorado. Like others have said, we're here to protest the war profiteers at the Austin Convention Center who are trying to spread war around the world globally, and especially in the Ukraine and China. We just want to stand against that. The neo-Nazis that have taken influence in the Ukraine, while the U.S. media continues to lie to us about the true motives of the war. against the Ukraine. And we just want to make sure that the right message is getting out.
That's right over here we got Raytheon, we got Boeing, we got Lockheed, we got the merchants of death on a feeding frenzy with your tax dollars, $70 billion for Ukraine, $70 billion that they're using for high-tech weaponry to target civilians. We know that. You know, I went to the Donbass region of Ukraine, and I saw how the Ukrainian military was targeting civilians with the weapons of the U.S. government, with your tax dollars. They're not talking about this, just like they didn't talk about it during the Iraq War and the weapons of mass destruction. They lied to us about that war. They're lying to us about this war. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the war profiteers have got to go.